Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We've been working on this project for a few months now, and we've been keeping it very quiet. So I'm extremely excited to finally be sharing it with all of you, with our community. And we really, really appreciate your support and being here. If you have any questions while we're presenting, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll try and address them as we go, or we will address them at the end. You can also feel free to put your email in there if you want to sign up. If not, you can go to our website, artivistcollective.org, and sign up at the bottom of our homepage. Also, we're recording this and we will post it later for anyone who wasn't able to make it and still wants to learn about what we're doing. So I want to start out by telling you, well, I'm Noah Zimmerman. I go to USC and I'm a double major in songwriting and music production, and I'm the co-founder and executive director of the Artivist Foundation. This all was born from a project that I started working on in October with 3 UCSB students. We started making a documentary about the oil drilling in Santa Maria and the process of community uprising against these oil companies that were going in and saying how great economically it would be when in fact they were doing shallow oil drilling that's very dangerous for the environment and can poison the groundwater. So we went in there to work with the community and show the process so that we could hopefully share it with other communities facing similar issues and teach them effective ways of preventing this from happening in their homes. So I was working with 3 UCSB students, including one who is the co-founder of this organization, Elena, who you're going to hear about later. And in the process, we met the most amazing people. We met high schoolers who would come on Friday nights to these meetings to plan events and demonstrations instead of hanging out with their friends. We met parents of young children who had to bring their kids to the meetings because they couldn't get babysitters, but they still came to share their perspectives and their voice. And it was their stories that inspired my song and my music video that I'm going to show you now.
Listen closely for screams beyond try not to cower in fear. Listen closely for screams beyond countries, the sound of stirring hearts sing. Look for the bleeding, collective, unreeling, complete loss of the missing link. Rupture will usher the rapture that follows close after we're on the brink.
So that was my music video. The song comes out tomorrow and will be on Spotify and all of the places where you find music. A lot of the footage that you just saw was taken on March 1st, which was our last day of filming before the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to finish the documentary, but 2 out of the 3 oil companies pulled out, so there's only one left, TerraCore, and they're pushing really hard to start the drilling, but we're gonna fight back, and it's a lot better to be fighting 1 oil company than 3. So progress is being made. But what happened was I was with Elena that day of filming, and we were driving back and having a conversation about how frustrating it is as artists and activists that we feel like the current social media platforms don't allow our voices to be heard, that people don't really, it sometimes feels like people don't care, and that it really rewards commercial content and narcissistic content. And so we had the idea of creating a platform by activist artists for activist artists, where they can share their voices and be heard and encourage each other and work together. So there's 5 on our team right now. We're all college students. Our graphic designer couldn't make it today, but his name is LETT. He's an incredible artist. He writes poetry, he does visual art, he makes music, and he does beautiful graphic design for us. And we've been working really hard with our first project, which is called Collective. And it's going to be an app and a website and a social media platform. It'll look somewhat familiar because you'll have a profile and a feed, and you can post your art and curate it to look however you want it to look. Some of the unique features are that you can find activist artists near you. You can search by location, by cause, by medium. So if you have an event in mind that you want to put on, or you're looking for someone near you to collaborate with, you can easily find them. And then once you do that, say you want to put on a rally or a demonstration, we have provided templates and information on how to do that. So even someone who has never done community organizing before will have all the resources they need to create a really effective real world event or festival or demonstration or rally. Additionally, something that we found really important is that we compensate artists fairly. So we're gonna have a marketplace where you can sell your work, and then also people can commission work. So if they need a poster for their upcoming event, they can post it and they can say, I'm looking for someone who makes graphic art that revolves around climate change. I'll pay $30 or whatever, and artists can respond and they can work together to create something. So this not only makes it more accessible, but it also can give people a source of income. So for those who haven't been able to actively participate in the past because they're working full time or they need to be at home taking care of their family, they now have something they can access at any time to help out. So it's really going to create an uprising of artists who can now get their voices heard and go into the real world and make change with the support of everyone else around them. So now I'm going to pass it on to Elena, who is going to tell you about why we need to do this right now.
Thank you so much, Noah. My name is Elena. As Noah mentioned, I'm at UCSB. I'm currently taking a year off to focus on community organizing activities. I've been focused on a lot of climate justice projects because that's a huge issue in Santa Barbara. So in the past, I've worked with Sunrise. Currently, I'm working with Food and Water Action and EcoVista. Throughout all these organizations, I've really focused on like the intersection of art and activism because it's something that I really believe is important to building strong movements For example, I host a bunch of art builds, which are basically gatherings of people who are making art for demonstrations or other events for change. And through these events, thankfully, I've gotten to witness the community bonding and building power that art has. So people like have great conversations, meet new friends. And then, as a lot of you probably noticed too, like almost every demonstration and activist event has art as a central component to catch people's eyes and also communicate these complicated issues. And a lot of activist events would be incomplete without it. And that brings me to why now is the perfect time for this project. So we're living in a time when the faults in our system are super clear now more than ever, and that's thanks in large part to the Black Lives Matter movement. The growing momentum for racial justice has really provided a lot of hope for our generation, because I've noticed that more and more people are taking action, and also there's so many more conversations happening now about how these injustices are really a symptom of a deeply flawed system that we're living under. At the same time, the current pandemic has created this sense of like isolation and helplessness, and it's really exposed the cracks in our society in the inequality of all the impacts of this crisis. But as we have seen now during the movement for Black Lives, the COVID pandemic, and the countless injustices exacerbated by our current president, public opinion and action are heavily shaped by symbols and stories. So simply sharing information isn't enough anymore. We need to really be sharing these narratives and spectacles that will engage and empower action on the part of the public. And thankfully, humans have this incredible tool to achieve the intense empathy that is so needed right now, which is art. And now more than ever, we need to be empowering activist artists. So the society we live in, unfortunately, has made it extremely difficult for people of historically marginalized backgrounds who already face day-to-day struggles to engage in activism and art, as Noah mentioned. And we believe that by providing this platform that is accessible to artists and activists of all backgrounds, while providing fair compensation, we can get closer to destroying some of the barriers many face when getting involved with these critical issues. And I know so many friends back home that like really wanted to get involved with whether Sunrise or Food and Water Action or EcoVista, and many just couldn't make the time because they were working some job that like really was just for money. And so yeah, we're really hoping to change that and create the space for people who haven't had the space before. And by creating this platform, we also hope to bring together artists of different but interconnected issues. And we believe this is necessary to bring us closer to reaching a truly intersectional movement for change that's aimed at these deeper issues that really unite all of the causes that we're up against. And yeah, so now I'm just gonna leave you all with this thought, which is that by harnessing the creativity of artists, we can begin to imagine future alternatives for our society. And by harnessing the strategy of activists, we can take solid steps towards making these alternatives a reality. And that is the power of Artivist. So I'm really amped to be sharing this passion project with you all. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful to be working with this team of people who are equally devoted to this cause. And yeah, now I'm going to pass it to Emily, who's going to talk about the timeline.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Elena. I'm Emily. I am one of the co-founders of the Artivist Foundation. I'm currently a senior at NYU, and I'm doing a self-design major that revolves around the sociological impacts of music and art, and specifically their influence on the formation of communities. And I've also worked in advocacy for things like climate justice, marine conservation, as well as ending mass incarceration in the United States. So as you're going to see, we're going to pull up a brief timeline that we've created, basically outlining what we've been up to so far and what is going to be coming in the near future. And I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about our progress up to this point. So since March, here we go. Since March, we have been working, since just before the pandemic, we've been laying the groundwork for the creation of the Artivist Foundation, and we've been preparing to engage in our first major project, which is going to be the collective app. And we've been working pretty much nonstop on that. We've been meeting at least twice a week, sometimes more, in order to make sure that we are making continuous steps of progress towards our initial goals. And we've been really incredibly excited by some of the major milestones that we've been able to reach in a remarkably short period of time. For example, we so far have established a brand identity and image with the help of Jane Brown Design. We have assembled a team of advisors from a number of different fields, everything from arts and activism to nonprofit fundraising to legal advisement and so much more. So we've got a really strong team behind us. We've also already launched our organization's demo website, which you can all go look at right now. It's at artivistcollective.org. And we've also contracted a web design company who are ready to go to start crafting the initial phase of the collective app for us. And we've achieved legal status as a nonprofit corporation in the state of California. So essentially, we feel like this foundational work has really set us up for success, and we are ready to move into the next major phase of preparation for the collective app. That next phase is mostly going to consist of trying to reach our fundraising goal, which we've set at $10,000 by the end of October 2020, which we plan to do through a combination of grassroots donations, funding grants, and contributions from individuals. And we're pretty optimistic about hitting that goal because we've actually already raised about $2,500. So we've hit the ground running with that. And once we reach our goal, we'll be able to officially begin the process of building our app's phase 1 version. And that's when our vision is really going to start to come to light. So now I'm going to turn things over to Taylor, who is going to explain to you a little bit about what that is going to look like.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Emily, for that introduction. And thank you, everyone, for showing up here today. It's really awesome to see all your faces here. My name is Taylor, and I'm the marketing director for the Artivist Foundation. I'm a singer-songwriter and a student at USC Thornton. Fight on. My main focus over the past few years has been developing songwriting programs at foster care homes and rehab centers, and diving into the healing process and self-discovery through music. So I'm currently taking a year off of school to just work, develop these programs here in Vancouver, BC, work a little bit on my own music, and continue to develop collective. Taking a look at our long-term vision, which we'll bring up in just a second. First and foremost, our main project is getting Collective, the app, up and running. So we already have a tech team lined up, ready to go. We have a marketing strategy and the support of, we'll say, prominent figures and artists to support us as we launch. Looking ahead a year, the October 2020 fundraising goal that we mentioned before will essentially get us through the first phase of app development. Additionally, with an additional $50,000, it'll allow us to further develop the app, hire more team members, take care of ongoing tech development fees, and ensure that Artivist collaborators are being compensated. Because starving artists, that should be a thing of the past. Anyways, continuing on, we are aiming to have a global community of about 5,000 collective users. So this will include artists, activists, people looking to volunteer or simply donate. Whatever your intention, you will have access to this app. We're also working towards building a network of partner organizations and developing Artivist demonstrations on the ground as well. Given that we've already found a vaccine, borders begin to open and everyone is safe and healthy. So once we've achieved traction with Collective, we're estimating in about 5 years or so, we'll begin scouting warehouse spaces. So these will be community centers of sorts for our Artivist users to hold gatherings, performances, anything you can really think of. We will also begin developing Artivist after-school programs. So we'll connect schools with local artists in low-income communities that don't necessarily have access to programs like these. And eventually we'll put on Artivist festivals, which will showcase music, poetry, dance, all sorts of performances to just bring our community together to connect and enjoy awe-inspiring art. All of that being said, our focus is simply developing the app and launching at the beginning of next year. So now I will pass it back to Noah to thank a couple of our advisors and supporters.
Thank you so much. I'm so privileged to be working with this amazing team, as well as a group of advisors who have been completely indispensable. Their advice and their wisdom has been what has allowed us to come this far. So I want to thank Chris Sampson, who's the founder of USC's Thornton Popular Music Program, Sean Holt, who's a professor of songwriting and performance, as well as the co-founder of an organization for arts education called the Believe Foundation. Adam Swig, who's the executive director of Value Culture, which combines philanthropy and community events. Steve Duncombe, who's an NYU professor and the director of the Center for Artistic Activism. Sterling Spence, who's our funding advisor and works for the American Friends Service Committee and is also an Artivist. He's in the band Westerly, who you should definitely check out. Eric Zimmerman, who is my dad and is also an amazing business mind who has gone on countless brainstorm hikes with me and also doesn't charge me rent, which is awesome. And our legal advisors, Susan Sullivan and Rob Preskill, for keeping us in the right direction. We could not have done this without any of them, and we're very grateful for their help and their generosity with their time and energy. And now I want to show you a few things that you can do if you want to get involved to keep this vision going. One, watch and share the Rapture music video. It comes out tomorrow. We will email it to you if you put your email in the chat, and if you can also sign up at the bottom of our website. This shares our vision with our community, spreads our word, and it also makes a big difference. If we can show that we have a lot of people engaging with what we're doing, it'll help us later on as we start to look for bigger investors to get to our next goals. So definitely share that around with your friends. If you're in the position to donate, we would really appreciate it. As we said, we have a $10,000 goal by the end of October. So if you can, or if you know someone who might feel like this project is something that they're interested in investing in, feel free to connect them with us. We really appreciate anything that you're willing to give. And then lastly, encourage activist artists to connect with us, because we want as many perspectives as possible, as many visions as possible, as many voices as possible. So, you know, show them our website, our social media. We want to connect with them. They can feel free to reach out to us. That's about all. We're recording this meeting so we can send out the link for anyone who missed it and or might want to see it and didn't know it was happening. But thank you so much for coming. The support means everything to us. We could not do this without such an amazing community. We're gonna hang out and answer questions for anyone who has any. If you need to go ahead. But yeah, we'll be here for a few minutes. So thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it.
And you can also feel free to drop your email in the Zoom link. We'll collect those and add them to our email list. So if you want to hear more about what we're doing, just drop your email in the group chat.
Yeah, thank you.